Hello, folks. This is Bob C-Gar coming to you from Studio B, which is, yes, still a lawn chair in front of my garage, but with my Lambo feel to it. So, go pack. Anyway, since last time we talked, of course, Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and I thought I'd talk about that a little bit. You're hearing all kinds of things, it was a professional hit, and then other people know it wasn't. Um, and, what about security? And, apparently this guy was on the roof, which makes you wonder how in the world are people getting on the roofs of these buildings, I would expect it to be a lot easier in a Charlie Kirk event than it would be a presidential event, but still, you would think basic security would say, we watch the roofs. Also, how did this guy get away? And I know that there was a real small police presence there, so maybe that was, maybe he would have been destined to get away with it, but I would think that he probably was aided and assisted, and I think that they need to track that down and find out not only who did the shooting, but who was involved in, helping him escape and covering for him and that kind of thing. And hopefully they'll get all those people and they will pay the price. And then you look at, the pundits are saying, yeah, they need to cool the rhetoric on both sides, and all this. And I'm thinking, well, I don't. Now I do watch more conservative media, so maybe there are conservatives on liberal media that are, using over the top rhetoric, but I'm not hearing it, and I haven't seen it. I'm not saying that it isn't out there. I would expect that it is. But it's kind of like saying, the transgenders in women's sports is acceptable. It's acceptable by some, but it's a very small amount. And I think that, yeah, there's probably rhetoric on the right that's bad, but it's probably a very small amount compared to the rhetoric on the left. And I do think that, you look at, all you have to do is just look at things in a realistic way. Charlie Kirk was assassinated yesterday, and he was the leader of a very strong political movement on college campuses. I haven't seen one protest. I haven't seen, anybody's Tesla firebombed. I haven't seen anybody, cities taken over. I haven't seen, it's not happening because Republicans don't do that. They work. So I think that somebody needs to call them out on this and say, no. This isn't a Republican rhetoric. There isn't a Republican rhetoric issue. Liberals aren't getting assassinated. Liberals aren't getting, shot, aren't getting targeted. It's not happening. Yeah, there's some crazy people, and it's going to happen maybe once in a while, but it's not the norm. You look at all of the violence that's been perpetrated in the last, say, 2 years, and I bet you 98% of it has been liberals doing it. So it's obviously not a both sides issue. It's a liberal side issue, and they need to deal with it, and they need to come to terms with it, and they need to, they need to fix it. They need to fix it, and they need to watch what they're saying, because, you run around and tell people that somebody's Hitler and they're, good example, okay? Mom Donnie, Republicans are saying, yeah, he's a socialist. He's a communist. We don't want him to be president. Mayor. But nobody's threatening him. Nobody's threatening his life. Nobody's threatening his family. Nobody's talking in any of those kind of terms because nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. They just want him to be defeated in a ballot box. And the things they're saying about him, he has said about himself. He believes that there should be government markets, government grocery stores, And there's videotape of him saying those things, yeah, I think we need to get to a point where the media can no longer try to convince people of things that aren't true. And I believe in freedom of speech. Charlie Kirk believed in freedom of speech. I believe in that. I don't believe in assassinating somebody. I believe that, and I don't believe in our politicians having free reign to say whatever they want to say when they're representing people. They should be held to a little higher standard. And instead of being able to say, yeah, he's a Nazi, and, I think, Biden said, MAGA's Republicans are a threat to our democracy. They shouldn't be allowed to say that kind of crap. It's stupid. Say that you don't approve of what they're saying. Say that, and then give examples of what it is they're saying that you don't approve of. But you shouldn't just be able to just rattle off stuff like that because people are crazy. Like I know I've talked to you guys before about, the amount of, you turn on a television and every three out of every four commercials, depending on the channel, but 3 out of every 4 commercials is a pharmaceutical commercial. We're pumping people so full of drugs that they're all on edge. I'll bet you if somebody took a poll, I'll bet you would find 90% of America says they have anxiety or depression. And they're being treated for it in some form or another. Now, by saying that, I can see my son looking at me like, Dad, you have no clue what you're talking about. And I have no facts. I have nothing to back it up with. I'll give him that. But I do think I know what I'm talking about. Just ask your friends, ask around. I'm sitting in my chair in my driveway, and I know 2 or 3 places I look at have PTSD or anxiety. So it's a natural. It's everywhere. It is everywhere, and I think that some of it, is a byproduct of the drugs people have taken for other things. How many times do you see that could cause depression or anxiety or liver or this or that or suicidal thoughts or it's like it just goes on and usually the last one's death and and I'm like, why are people taking these drugs? And then I take drugs. Take drugs for diabetes. I take drugs for blood pressure. It just goes on and on. Everybody's doing all of these things. And I think that the long-term effects of the drugs that we take have probably not really been established. But anyway, hope everybody watches the Packers. I know it's on Prime, so there's going to be a lot of people that can't watch the game, and I get that. But tonight's going to be a great game, playing the Washington Commanders. And that Jaden is, for the Commanders, their quarterback. He's an amazing, amazing player. And Jordan Love is really good, but he hasn't really shown me, he didn't show me that much last week. And I think he needs to, get up to game speed. He needs to be ready to go. I know he was injured during in the summer, and so he's working. I'm sure he's working his way back, but he's going to have to perform tonight. But I think the defense is going to be the story again tonight. Anyway, thanks for listening to me. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the notification bell if you want to see my videos in the future, and leave a comment and let me know you're watching. Take care. Thanks. Bye.